Vlog FPV. Well, fall is here and whoop season is upon us. So today we are looking at the Happymodel Mobula6 Freestyle HD with the HD0 all-in-one board. I've actually had this whoop for over 6 months, but have not pulled it out of the box because I've been flying larger whoops and quads outdoors. Since I'm already in the HD0 ecosystem, I purchased this mostly to fly indoors for fall and winter flying when the weather's bad outdoors. In the box, you get the quad itself. You get a bag that includes a screwdriver, a prop removal tool, some spare props, some extra screws that holds the flight controller and the canopy to the frame in case one of those falls out. You get a spare canopy and you get some stickers. Quickly going through the specs. The weight is spec'd at 19.6 grams, which is amazingly light. I'm measuring 19 grams, but my scale doesn't go down to tenths of grams, so that is accurate. The battery that they recommend is a 1S 300 milliamp hour battery that has an A30 type connector. I'm running BT 2.0 type batteries, so what you're going to have to do is kind of cut out this little red tab here, and I use a sharp set of small diagonal cutters just to kind of trim that tab out, and then the BT 2.0 batteries fit in there fine. The important thing of this model is this all-in-one board that has all the components built in on the board except for the camera here. So going through the specs of the board, 4-in-1 ESCs are capable of 5 amp continuous. They are running BlueJ ESC firmware that's pre-installed. The HD0 VTX is 5.8 gigahertz, of course. Let's see if I can get it into focus. You can see it sitting right underneath the canopy here, this part right there. It does have a built-in SPI Express LRS receiver. That's 2.4 gigahertz. That is compatible with Express LRS version 3.0. It does have a built-in 5-volt, 1-amp BEC. That's going to be supplying the power for the camera. And then the board itself is a standard whoop mounting pattern, which is 25.5 by 25.5 millimeters. So that's pretty standard for a whoop board. And then it's running Betaflight firmware 4.4.2 from the factory. I'm not going to be upgrading that. You might get a newer version. That's the version that I have on this board at the time of the video. Of course, the camera, I really like this camera. It's the HD0 Lux camera. It has a 1/2-inch sensor. The resolution is 720p 60, and it supports aspect ratios of 4:3 and 16.9. And then the field of view is 155 degrees, which is great. The motors, see if I can get them into focus here, are the SC0702 28,000 kV motors. They went with the smaller motors, smaller stator, to keep the weight down. These are good motors. I've had them on other models, so they're great. So that's a quick summary of the specs. As far as the configuration changes, the only thing I changed in the Betaflight configurator was putting in my rates, modes, and channel mapping, which you can see here on the screenshot. Happymodel has not been very consistent with their channel mapping, so keep that in mind. They're set at TAER1234. Other models that I've seen of theirs are AETR1234, which is what I use as far as my channel mapping goes. So as the tune is great on this quad, and we'll get into the flight characteristics later. So I would not make any other changes other than putting in your rates and however you want to set up your modes. If you're interested in how I set up my whoops, I have a video on the Happymodel M8 HD02S whoop that I went through all the configuration changes that I use as far as my standards for whoops like this. So I'll have a link in the description below. So next I'm going to go and show you an indoor flight at a gymnasium that we fly in. We fly ultralight, fixed wings, and whoops. I actually had one of the club members also fly this little whoop, and he will give you his opinion as he's flying it. Then on to some outdoor flights. Then we'll wrap this up with my thoughts on the Mobula6 Freestyle HD0 Whoop.
Oh wow. Wow, this thing is really light. Very clear. Oh yeah. I just bought an Air 60, like a Beta FPV Air 65 last fall. Of course I flew into the creek and couldn't never find it after that. This is pretty legit. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's very nice. Beats the regular analog by a lot. Oh no. Okay.
So here are my thoughts on the Happymodel Mobula6 Freestyle HD. Let's start with the pros. As far as performance, due to its light weight of 19.6 grams dry, the thrust to weight ratio is great. Now it's not as fast as the newbie drone race spec, but that's really designed for racing. This, however, is still very light and nimble for a 65mm whoop, as you heard in the video. As far as flight characteristics, the tune was excellent right out of the box. and I was only seeing a slight bit of prop wash doing some light whoop acro moves. I was also very happy on how stable this quad flies in both angle and acro mode. This little guy is really easy to fly slowly and smoothly, and I think it's great for going out and exploring. Also, as far as whoop acro, I do think it lives up to its name of being a freestyle whoop. It is powerful with punch outs, so you can fly this whoop fast if you want to. And then lastly, the throttle management seemed to be very easy, even with high thrust to weight ratio. I had no problem with throttle management at all. Moving on to flight time. It is about average for a whoop of this size and motor selection. These 0702 28,000 kV motors aren't the most efficient because they are very powerful. I was getting about 3 minutes with mixed acro and cruising, and about 3 minutes 20 seconds with slow angle mode flights. I'm using these 1S Tap 2 300 milliamp hour batteries, as you can see here, and they are showing their age a little bit, but overall I think I'm very happy with the flight time considering the motor selection. As far as battery selection, I would use a high quality 300 milliamp hour battery like these Tap 2 batteries I have here. Even though these are BT 2.0 connectors, they fit fine in the connector. I thought I was going to have to trim out the little tab that is really meant for an A30 connector. You can see that there at the bottom. But because the plastic is so soft, it easily fits in there. So it's kind of a joke that they put that little compatibility tab in there. And again, it fits fine in there without even having to trim that. You can see that little tab in between the battery connector leads there. So just keep that in mind. You can either use a good A30 or BT 2.0 battery for this little guy. And another pro was the noise level. Of course, all whoops are quiet. The prop selection was good, and I don't think it's going to annoy anybody in your house when you fly this little guy around because it's ultralight. And again, the noise levels are pretty low with this thing. Moving on to the camera and VTX. Like on the M8, the fixed camera angle of 15 degrees is great for a new pilot. It's also good for cruising and slow whoop acro. Also, although not as good as the DJI O4 system, again, the color and detail in the video feed is much better than analog, as a person in the video that I had fly this mentioned. He was really, he's used to flying analog whoops, and he really liked the clarity and being able to go out and explore with this thing with the HD0 system in it. As far as durability, due to its ultralight weight, the durability is great, even with the more exposed camera here. I think the little struts here do a good job of stabilizing the camera. You saw in the video, this thing, when he was flying it up, he's exploring up in the ducts for the air conditioning and heat, and you can see it fell 30 feet from the top of the gymnasium down to the hardwood floor, and it survived that fine. So this little guy is actually pretty robust, and I think that's due to the frame is very flexible, didn't break any struts when we crashed it. So I think this thing is really durable and good for a new pilot. As far as another pro, I like the 180 degree connectors they have on the pigtail. This works out great. It's just really annoying to have to try and twist a pigtail in to try and plug it into a battery. So I think all whoops should have this set up. It just makes things much cleaner and makes the pigtail lead shorter with this kind of a 180 degree connector setup. The last pro I wanted to talk about is value. I purchased this at $199, which was pre-tariff price, but you can still pick this up for $235.99 from the HD0 US store. at $235.99 US, which I think is still a good value. Now, it's not as cheap as analog, but still, I think if you already have HD0 goggles, this thing is a good value in my mind. Moving on to the cons. Of the antenna here, it's really meant for indoor flying, so this antenna isn't going to give you a lot of range, but they did this selection so that they kept the weight down. There's other UFL type, like the ORT antenna that you can get that's almost as lightweight as this. That might extend the range of this little guy. And again, I understand why they selected this antenna is, to keep the weight down. But just keep in mind, this is really intended for indoor flying. Also, I had to really put the antenna underneath this rear brace. When it's sticking up, I felt like it'd be easy to, get the antenna ripped off the UFL connector there. What's interesting, Happymodel did recognize, whoops, I dropped that, that was an issue, and you can actually print out a little antenna holder that screws into this, and then it has a little slot at the front here that allows you to channel that so the antenna sticks up more. So I'll go ahead and link that SDL file if you want to print one of those out. I'm not going to, because when I put it into this position, I didn't have any problems indoors or outdoors with this thing popping off, and this keeps it protected by just putting it underneath this rear brace. The next con, of course, is there's no angle adjustment with the canopy. A niggle, but might be important to some that like to adjust their angle of their cameras a little steeper, for those who are better at whoop acro than I am. But for me, this was a really good compromise as far as a camera angle, so it was not a big deal for me. Then also, kind of the last con that I have on this little quad, because I really like it a lot, is the battery bay here. Really, you need to find a thinner battery like this Tat2, the rolled batteries, to get it to fit into here. So keep that in mind. You have to use kind of a thinner battery, so that might limit your battery selection. But I would highly recommend the rolled battery type like this Tat2, because they just are a much better battery, and they last a lot longer if you keep them at the storage voltage level after you fly them. I've had this for a couple years or more, and these batteries have been really holding up great. So that's kind of a niggle as well. But other than that, I have to say this is my favorite indoor whoop of 2025. I really like how stable it is. I think it's good for a new pilot. Out-of-box experience was fine. Just wouldn't upgrade the firmware. There's no reason to. So a new pilot, I think this is something that would be great for you to learn on, both indoors and outdoors on. So highly recommend this one. I just overall, I think it's a great little whoop. If you have the HD0 goggles, I think this is something that you should definitely consider. So with that, thanks for tuning in to my channel.